Well, the question is, am I in Seattle? Man, it hasn't stopped raining. It took a little break, but it's windy, cold. It's this is not California weather for sure. The grass likes it. The uh, the rain was so heavy last night that the trash containers went down the street about a half a block, and these three they were in front of my driveway, and I pulled them off, and uh, those three right there, I parked them. I parked it there because I don't know who they belong to. Somebody up the street. I just don't know who. Anyways, let me get a puff going here. I'm dying to smoke one of my cigars. I just don't want to sit out there. And I started smoking a pipe when I was early 21, I think it was. I was never a cigarette smoker. So, can't do anything. Can't do anything here. Can't do anything at the boat, even though I got projects already lined up. With this type of weather, I can't do anything really. So being that I'm bored to death, all I do is just watch YouTube videos. I'm researching things or read a book. Okay, so I started thinking about. I went to Bass Pro and I did find a box of 150 boat tail and I bought it. It's okay, ballistic tip, black tip. I've never seen it in black. I've seen it in green, white, red, and it's 150 grain. And I said, hey, it was so hard to find, and there was only one, so I bought it. Look at this rain coming down. Jesus Christ! Back in Seattle. So then when I was there, I kind of like to, you know, wander around the store and look at things. And sometimes I look at packs, sometimes I look at boots. And I went by the archery area, which I love archery. Can't do it anymore. And I started looking at the crossbows. And the crossbows gone up high like you won't believe. There was a crossbow there that it's called the, and I took a picture of it. It's Excalibur 340, like that. I don't know if it had a letter or not. Sometimes they have a DT, they have something else. Anyways, I looked at it and I noticed it was compact and it was light. I think it's supposed to be 6 pounds. With a 6.5, something with the scope on it. I don't think it had the arrows on it. And I said, I think I'm gonna sell mine. I have a Burnett, the Whitetail Hunter. My shoulder's still bothering me big time. I mean, just this weather, it's the worst thing. Cold and windy, and it goes into your bones. And I'm rolling around in bed trying to get some sleep. I'm basically, if I don't take a sleeping pill or something, it won't help. I can't sleep. So I said, well, I'm gonna sell it because I can't pull the bow. I can't pull the crossbow with the cords. The bow shoots the crossbow shoots 375 foot per second. Pull weight, I can't tell you because I don't know what I did with the paperwork. I don't know what I did with it. I think I don't know. I bought it off the rack, so I didn't get a box or anything. And then I said, well, let me see those other crossbows. I started looking at the Excalibur. I started looking at the, but there's a whole series. I mean, beautiful equipment. Uh, the 340 caught my eye because of the size. It's a recurve. But then when I was there, the guy told me the pull weight on this is 270 pounds. And I'm going, to pull it? Are you sure about that? He goes, yeah, I think so. 270 pounds. I said, wait. I said, if I can't pull this one, which it's got to be less, I'm sure I can't pull 270. That's crazy. And I've been looking at videos to see if anybody complains about, a couple of guys did. They went like, ooh, and they're younger guys, stronger back. So I was talking to my friend a little while ago, my ex hunting partner. He doesn't hunt anymore. He talks about hunting, but he doesn't hunt anymore. And I said, I think I'm gonna sell it. He goes, well, why? It's a nice boat. He goes, yeah, but if I'm not using it, I don't like to keep things around and get the money out of it and take it, and put it up for sale. And I want to see if I can find something smaller and easy to pull. But the recurve, not the compound, the recurve, what you shoot is what you pull. So I said, well, I can't, And then I started looking at other ones. And there's one called the Scorpit, I think it was. I'm sorry for the names I haven't written down. I saw so many. This one had a crank box in the stock, and the guy just go, bring it up. And I said, yeah, that's nice. I like that. Now I look at this, I get on my phone, I look at the specifications, and it says it's 6.4, 6.7 without the accessories, right? This guy had the scope on it, and he had I think he had the arrows on it, and he had a scale, like a fish scale. He hung it, and he pulled it up. He goes, 9.4. And I'm going, 9.4? Well, hell, that's what mine weighs, right? So then I remember that when I bought it, this guy told me, the guy at the counter told me that I could crank with it. It's got a cranking feature. I really never looked into it, and there's not a lot of videos about it. I just found one video about one guy showing how to take the caps off and put it together and how to work it, the crank. And I said, well, hell, if that's the case, I'm going to keep mine because all the other crossbows have gone up in price like crazy. Now the one I bought is not like the most expensive, but it's not the cheapest either. Let me show it to you. This is the Barnett Whitetail Hunter STR, which shoots there's a 1, 2, and the STR. I think the 1 and 2 shoot 350. This is 375 foot per second. It's got a removable quiver that it's a little tricky to get it out. There you go. It just pops in, and the quiver is like super light. This bow is long because the arrow that shoots is 21 inches long, I believe. 21 or 22. I think it's 22. So when you put the arrowhead in there and everything else is going to be a little longer. Here are the pulled knobs. And it's got the dampeners, double limb. It's still got the tags. I mean, I haven't really done nothing with it. I think I've shot it 3 times. And what happened was that when I bought this 4 years ago, I was on my way to the shooting range. The bow and arrow shooting range, and they didn't allow me to shoot with this. And I kept, asking the guy why. He goes, oh, because it's too powerful. It could go off and hit somebody in a car. I go, I'm not going to aim that way. But, it's their rules. So we got in the car and we were leaving, and bam, I got into that accident that I don't know if you saw that video. And for the past 4 years, this thing has been sitting in the closet because every time I try to pull it, it's I got to put a lot of effort in it. I said, if it's not going to be fun, I'm going to sell it. But now that I remember this thing has a crank, and this is where the crank goes. There's a button right here. Right in there. And there's another one on the opposite side. Right in there. And you can put the crank on the left or the right, and you can crank the thing in. And I say, shit, man. Why am I going to spend $800 for the cheapest, not the cheapest, but one of the nicest bow? Not the most expensive, because they go up to $2,000. And I said, if this thing has a built-in crank already, and it has a setup that goes here, and you can attach it and bring it in. The only thing I didn't like about the video is when the guy started cranking it, you can hear the click, 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 click. So you imagine doing this in the forest, clicking this thing, setting it up. And I think I mentioned one time on a video that this is not to walk around, especially me, with the pain in the shoulder. But since I'm still considering on the stand, the tree stand, this would be an excellent choice to sit up there, put it on the railing, let it rest on the railing, and when the deer comes by, all you have to do is aim down and shoot. You don't have to actually be picking it up all the time because it is heavy. This is 9 pounds something. I think it was 9.4 when I weighed it. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to keep it. It is a little bit on the long side because most of these crossbows, the arrows are 16 inches, and this is long. This is 22. Now the idea is that if I do go on the stand, and it comes with a quiver that holds 3, but I went ahead and bought 3 more, or 4. So I got extra ones because I have a habit when I used to shoot my bow. I have a habit of shooting practice arrows, and those are the practice arrows only. And then I had another set of arrows for hunting. They wouldn't be bent, they wouldn't be damaged, they wouldn't be scratches, perfectly new. And the same thing I was going to do with this until the accident happened, and then haven't done with it. I really haven't really learned too much about it. It's got an okay scope. I mean, the scope only shows 5 lines, so it's 50 yards. But you can start at 20, so that could make it 60, I guess. So 20, 40, 50, 60, 70. Yeah, you can go to 70 if you start at 20. And the idea is that being that it's so noisy, to crank it, even if it's not noisy when you pull the cord. Not noisy at all. You just pull it up and it goes click, 1 click. But I won't be able to do that. So I started thinking that I could, when I get off the truck, I can crank it, cock it, don't put an arrow in it. I'm going to put a sling on it because it has also a spot for a sling. It has a spot back here, and it has another one in the front. So I'll put that in my back. Then when I get to the stand, set it down, climb up with the stand. When I'm up there, pull on the cord. I'm going to have a cord attached to it. Pull it up nice and gentle, quiet. And once I'm up there sitting down, the thing is resting on the tube, then you place the arrow in the slot. That way there's no misfires, there's no catching your fingers or anything. But that clicking noise, if you're going to do it in the air, after walking in so many yards or I don't know how far, if you're going to walk half a kilometer or whatever, but whatever it is, if you're going to walk in, you're going to start making noise. You're defeating your own strategy. You want to go in at night, you want to go in quiet. You're not going to start doing click, click, click and thinking that the deer is going to say, oh, nothing. No, the deer's going to scoot. They're not going to come around. So that's what I was thinking, that it could be a good thing to do, to click it uh, at the truck, at the camp, and then put the arrow when you're up there. There's also another bow that I had really, I was amazed on the accuracy and the engineering. It's got two limbs, so you shoot two arrows. So you put the two arrows, you crack one by one. You put the two arrows in there, and you wait. And then if a deer comes by, you can go boom, and then if it misses or it kind of wounds it, boom again. And I said, man, that's great. Yeah, it's only it's also $1,400, and I'm going, the hell with that. That's too much money. So there's a innovations in archery, which is great. So on this crossbow, it has the extended. Let's see. It has this extended pad that you can adjust it and bring it in. I'm going to bring it all the way in because that's the way I got it. It was hanging there, and it was the last one. And I did some reviews on it, and it was good. And it wasn't all that expensive. It was, I paid $400 for it. I think that's what they're going for, or maybe a little bit more. I really haven't looked into it. But it still has the stickers, and it's got all the stuff since when I bought it, because I haven't really used it. It's brand new. And I thought, yeah, I'll sell it. But when I saw the one I liked with the crank, it's a built-in crank, it was going for, what was it, $700, and it weighed 9 pounds and something. And I said, well, what the hell, man? Why am I going to spend extra money if I want to have the same deal? I got the crank and I got the weight. It's cheaper to keep her. So I'm going to do it. And Barnett makes good crossbows. They have aluminum railing, 660 aluminum, I believe it is. Aluminum riser here. Everything is top of the line materials. They're not cheap on anything. It just that I was surprised. Well, I think that the weight started bothering me after the accident, because now I can't lift half of what I used to. That's because when I bought it, I didn't even pay attention about the weight. But then after the accident, everything is painful. So, but yeah, I want to try that. Now, one thing about the Excaliburs, they're a lot cleaner looking, a lot less cables, a lot less. There's no pulleys, and there's single limb instead of double. All kinds of things that is beneficial as far as the weight is concerned. It cuts down the weight by almost 50%. I would say 40%. But as I further went into more videos, and when I researched something, I researched the crap out of it. I started looking at people complaining about the limbs breaking off. And I'm going, ooh, that's not good. So they call Excalibur, and they complaining. Excalibur has a good customer service, and no worries, we're going to send you new limbs. And then the limbs that they send, they're a little bit different. So there's one limb that it curves like the old fashioned Swiss, it curves, and then the other one goes like that, and then does this. Okay, and apparently, when they engineer this, the I don't know what you call where the limb rests and it's attached. It's solid fixed. So here comes the limb, attaches with two lag screws there, very big, very tight, and then the bolt does this. Well, every time you pull, it's doing this, and then it shoots up. Well, this area here, doing this, eventually will break. It will break the limb, because it's like getting a wire and you're bending it and bending it and bending it, and sooner or later it's gonna break. So some people were saying why are they breaking? Is because of that some of them have this design that it's a shorter limb instead of the long one. There's a guy that he's been shooting for 13, 14 years with the Excalibur. He's never had a problem. Why? Because the one he has the longer limbs. It's a wider tip to tip. So when it bends, it doesn't burn that sharply. It bends just enough to recurve and shoot the arrow. So that's something that you got to look into if you're going to buy an Excalibur. Another thing you could do, you could have a spare limb for practicing and practice the hell out of it. And then when it's time to go hunting and you want to go smaller, you get the shorter limbs, put it on, practice a few times so you know where you're shooting at, and then go hunting with that. And that way you're not going to wear it out. Because the shorter the limb, the more stress you're putting on that joint, in that joint there, and it's doing this. It's bending because the limb is a lot shorter. So it's doing that, and it will snap. It will just break like a twig. And I saw a few videos about that happening. In the archery world, they call that blowing up. I had one bow blow up on me, smacked me in the thumb, and it was hurting for a couple of days because I went to the store and I was looking at different bows and I said, let me see that one. I don't remember the brand. I don't think it was top of the line, but anyways, I pulled it once and the thing went bam, and it hit me, pow. The guy came running. What happened? And I said, it blew up. It just, because you don't let go. You know that you pull and you bring it in. So when I was doing this, before I got to the end, it just wham. So it was probably bad quality material on that limb, made in China, who knows where, and that happened. So I don't know where the Excaliburs are made, but they do have a pretty good warranty, and that's the important thing. As long as you can get an extra limb or an extra part, as long as it doesn't happen when you're hunting, because that'll ruin your hunting. So my suggestion is, if you have an Excalibur, buy an extra set of limbs to practice, the white one, and then when you're going in the woods, you want something shorter, easy to maneuver around, and then you won't have that problem. This one, I haven't really studied this too much, but as you can see, it's already at an angle. It's not going across like the Excalibur. It has to do a lot more bending. This is already bent. So when you crank it in, and by the way, this one is I think it was 19. Where's my measuring tape? I think it was 19. Let me get my measuring tape. Okay, got the measuring tape here. Let's do a quick measuring. I'm gonna go limb to limb, not wheel to wheel. So uncocked is 18 3/4 exactly, and it's supposed to be 15 when you cock it. So it's not that wide. The Excalibur is 25 across and then 21 when you cock it. So let's see. Let's do the numbers. It's well, actually it's 3 inch and 3/4, almost 4 inches. So when you're bending this one, it's like it bends in 2 inch each. That's why it goes from 18 3/4 to 15. So yeah, it's almost 4, 2 and 2. So it won't have that problem of blowing up because the limb's already bent, and it's just going to come in a small amount, and then wham. Now, I saw some people shooting it, comparing it to all the different bows, and for some reason, this one was shooting against the high point, which is supposed to be top of the line, and this one was doing better as far as it was going through the jugs of water and it kept going. The high point got stuck in there. It went through a target, the foam target. It went through it. The other one got stuck in there. So I don't know what the poundage on the other one. Obviously, it had to be a little bit less. This is 375, and for me, that's plenty. I don't need to be 500, 400, none of that. It's enough. So I'm going to prep for uh, bow hunting, which, by the way, I have permission from the department that I can shoot a crossbow during bow season, and I got a written permission, and it's going to be in my pocket just in case fishing game comes and you go, hey, what are you doing? Say, here it is, perfectly legal. So I got permission for that, and I can't wait to use it. I gotta practice. And now another issue is, where do I practice? They don't allow this at the bow and arrow range, so I'm gonna have to go off somewhere and take my phone target and do that. Now the scope, being it's only five lines, I can like I said, I can start shooting at 20 yards and then go from there. But there's also another scope that it's got illuminated reticles, and it's got 10 dots, 10 little circles, and it starts at, I think it was 20 or 30, because I saw a guy that he videoed it, but they did a quick thing and you really couldn't tell. But you can see at the bottom they said 100 yards, and if you can shoot 100 yards, that gives you a lot better chances of hitting a deer than if you can only shoot at 50 yards. So that's the deal. The arrow on this one is to the back of the nock. It's 23. 23. And it's got a 100 grain tip, I believe. I got some blades for my bow that I can put on these, and I gotta weigh them because I think this is supposed to shoot 100 to 150. So I'm getting the crank possibly today, because I just finished watching all those videos and I made up my mind. I said, no, I'm not gonna sell it. I'm gonna keep it, even though it's a little bit on the heavy side. But it's got Picatinny rail on the side, on the bottom. I don't need that because I'm not going to put a light or anything. I'm going to take those off, and that might lighten it up by a few ounces. Picatinny rail. What does it weigh? It's got a Picatinny rail for the quiver. It's got another one down here, and it's got another one on the side. It's got 3. Another thing that Bennett should do is the chassis or the frame. They should shorten it up. Maybe another one, bring this piece in this area cut off about 4 inches in length, and get rid of the Picatinny. You don't need all that many. You can put a Picatinny going across here, and you can have your quiver going across instead of lengthwise like this. They can come up, they can engineer something that'll remove some weight and some length, because those arrows are too long. I think from 23 they should go down to maybe 19. Take another 4 inches off of that, and then this thing would be a lot better to carry, because you can feel that it's front heavy, and it's really giving me a pain in the arm. It's front heavy. So now that I can't carry the weight, the same thing with the rifle, I can't carry the weight with my left. I'm going to be shooting my left side, which I can do, and I can just go like this, and I can do a pretty good shot. I can't do it the other way. I'm not even going to try, because I got pain as I speak. It's every day, and I just ignore it. Sometimes it gets really bad, like with this weather, and I take pain pills or things like that. So the design I like. Everything is beefy. The grip here, I think they went overboard with the beefiness, It's really massive. They could slim this down and shave a few ounces there, because you're going to be wearing gloves if it's cold, right? So that the length on the chassis, shorten that. The let's see what else I can shave. Everything else looks at a good distance. This here, I got about 3 inches right there. I need to move the scope back, and this Picatinny reel doesn't have to be that long. Why do you need this weight long? I mean, what is it? Let's see. I know it's a good style, and it looks good on the bow and everything else, but you also gotta remember that people are carrying this all day long. This thing is 8 inches long, and this is the chassis with everything, the safety and everything. The Picatinny itself is 7.5 inches long. That's too much Picatinny. From here to here is 7.5. I still need to bring this. I don't know why it's so far up, and that's the way it was when I saw it. And got to remove this cap so I can put the crank in there. It's got a very good grip. I like the grip. So if you don't have painful shoulders, and if you can pull it, this is a good bow. 375. That does more than enough if you're going to shoot 40 or 50 yards, even 60 yards. The deer, and remember when you shoot, especially when you're shooting up close, if it's far away, sometimes they won't do that. But if it's up close, the deer will do this and duck when they hear some noise. So if you're going to shoot and you're going to aim at his body, you got to aim further down the torso. So when he brings that torso down, you hit the vitals. You don't want to hit the guts, right? So the torso is about 18 inches. When they flinch and they hear a noise, and that's the noise they're going to hear from this thing going like that, they'll bring it down. And when they bring it down, the arrow's already there. And you got them in the vitals, lung, heart, everything. And you can have a clean kill. I've never shot a deer with a bow and never shot a deer with a crossbow. So I'm going to see this year is different. Try my best. I know that I can pull a license for a tag for female. For some reason, I just can't shoot a female. I know they do it back east all the time. They look so dainty. They look so pretty. They look so adorable, really, with the big eyes and the eyelashes. And I just couldn't see. I'd see myself looking at those beautiful eyes and then killing it. I'll shoot a buck, macho a macho, But to shoot a doe, and I did that once in Indiana, and I didn't like it. It was good meat, but they were telling me, "Oh no, you can get it because it's only $15 a tag, and we got too many." And they have a pest situation back over there, so that's why they're shooting does. Over here it's different because over here we got something called a mountain lion that's taking care of the does and the fawns and the bucks. So there's less deer. But I heard when I was there a few years ago that I think I got a bunch of pictures. I'm going to see if I can do a video and set it up. That they allowed bow hunters. Check it out. They allowed bow hunters to hunt in the city. So can you imagine a guy? Because the deer are walking down the streets, going into stores, because they got too many. They got too many deer. And mostly they were the females. I remember back in the day, in the 70s, I had a magazine. I don't know if I still have it. I think I got rid of it. That in Mississippi, they had a deer infestation, and you could shoot a deer a day. And I've never forgotten that. You can do some research and find out when was that. If it was 77, 78, or whatever. But you could shoot a deer a day because there were so many in the swamp areas. They were just herds, large herds of deer. Females with the bucks running around, the fawns, and they were just going from one end to the other, and just there were just too many, too many. So you need to keep the numbers down to prevent actually an epidemic. When there's too much animals in the wild, nature decides to eliminate a few, and they come up with this disease. I don't know if it's blue tongue disease or some other diseases, but there was in the early '80s there was an epidemic up in D5, which they call that the cradle of the deer herds in California, D5 and D6. There was a lot of deer up there, and there were so many that in the herd, because the herds were huge, and they started dying from a disease. That's nature trying to balance things out. So if that's the case, yeah, you have too many females and too many does, then you could kill them as long as they're not sick, and you can enjoy the meat and reduce the numbers. But I've always been used to hunting in California where, yeah, you can get a tag and they tell you what areas to go, but I'm always after the buck. A doe, to me, to kill a doe, it's like there's no challenge, because the doe just look at you. He's sitting there across the street, just looks at you. Because then I used to being shot at. But the bucks here are really wiry. They see you and boom, they take off like a bullet. It's pretty hard to get a buck in California. If you see somebody kill a buck in California, you can congratulate them 10 times over, because it's not easy getting a buck here. Unless you have a bunch of guys that they drive the deer. I've seen that happen. But if you're going on your own, good luck. And that's what I do. It's a challenge, and I make it even worse because I go by myself. It's but a doe, it's too easy. I mean, if I want to kill a doe, I can just go up here on the golf course and they're walking around there like nothing. They're looking at you and people take pictures. It's not a challenge. That's not hunting. That's not hunting. To me, hunting is not killing. People say, "Oh, you're killing Bambi." No, sometimes Bambi is killing you. Hunting to me is special. It's going in, it's tracking, it's finding sign, uh, coming up with a strategy, glassing, a lot of glassing. If you see a buck across the way in another mountain, so okay, how am I going to get close to him? Which way should I approach? What time of day should I approach? What's going on with the wind? What's going on with the temperature? Where is the least noisiest path that I can take? That's hunting. Hunting is not sitting in a vehicle and oh, there's a deer, boom, and go get it, one. Yeah, they do in Africa. It's not like that. So hunting is special. So if you're gonna shoot a doe, then it's just sitting there looking at you. And I know they do it on the east. I'm not criticizing anybody. And a lot of people do eat deer meat, which is very healthy, very good. But to me, that's not really hardcore hunting. Now, if one day I end up in a wheelchair, which I hope not, but if I end up in a wheelchair and I still want to go hunting, I am going to have to sit and wait for the deer to come by. And if it's a doe, I'll have a tag for that. But to me, hunting is very different. I've been doing it for over 40 years. I've traveled all over the West. Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Montana. I mean, Wyoming. Oh, Wyoming is my favorite place. Favorite place. I mean, you see them in the mountains, and you can get together either way. It's okay. I'm gonna go this way. You go down the ravine, and you go down the other side. I knew some old timers that they had a Jeep Cherokee from '69, one of those big boxy ones. And I'm over here sitting on the opposite hill in front of a ravine, because sometimes they scooter through there. And this guy just went off the road and just went woo, woo, with four-wheel drive. And there were four guys sitting back there very comfortable. And they went to the top because the hills there were open. There were a few sage, no pines. Pines were way on top. And they just drove. all the way to the top. And I'm looking up and say, what the hell? I should have hitched a ride with those guys. And they just pulled off and parked in a flat area, and then they got off and they started walking the ridge. And I'm going, man, that's fantastic, you know. You can't do that in California. There's no ridge that's going to be open for you to drive. Everything here is pine trees, ponderosa. So it's a hunt. It's a hunt. It's not a sitting. Now, if I sit in a tree blind, yeah, you're sitting. Well, let me tell you, I'm already anticipating some issues. One, how cold is it going to be? Two, are you going to be able to sit without moving for long periods of time in the cold? Three, what kind of snacks to take that there's no smell to it? You can take a couple of candy bars or take no chocolate. Take jerky, things like that. A friend of mine told me, "Oh, just get some apples and throw them down." They go, "Well, the deer is not stupid. The deer says, I know there's no apple tree around here. What is this apple doing here?" You know, they're gonna be really skittish. So it's sitting in a tree blind for four. Because by the way, my plan is to go in the morning and come out in the middle of the afternoon. I'm not sitting there all day. At 12 o'clock or one, I'm taking out to the truck. I'm going out to the truck for lunch, something hot, soup, stew, something warm because it's going to be cold up in those mountains, 8,000 feet. And no, this spot is going to be a little lower, 75, 7,600 feet. So that's another thing to consider. What are you going to wear? How much of it are you going to be able to put on so you can get into that tree stand and climb up with, you know, without getting stuck and jammed with all your clothing? I'm taking my puffy pants because you're sitting and your legs are going to be freezing. I'm taking my little hand warmer. Let me see. It's in the truck. I'm not going to go in there. So I'm taking my hand warmers. I'm taking a scarf. And just sit quietly and look for any deer coming by, any signs or anything like that, because you cannot be moving around. You cannot be crossing your legs. You cannot be munching on a sandwich unless it's something quiet like a tuna sandwich or something. You can't take stuff that smells, because even though you're sitting up 30 feet or so, I don't know about 40, because 40 is the length of a container. But even though you're up there, you might have a little swirly wind that'll bring that smell down and kind of run around, and the deer could pick it up, and then you've been sitting there for hours, and then you lost your chance. So yeah, guys, that's the idea for the future. I'm going to activate this crossbow, and it shoots pretty good. I don't know how far. I only shot maybe 40 yards. That time I took 3 shots, and I'm gonna see if I can do some shots with it and take my foam. I'm gonna have to get a bag. That foam is really old, but one of those yellow bags, and take it back in the hill somewhere. Shoot. How good does it do? And then adjust the scope. I think on the scope I might change it and put the one with 100. That would be nice, because I think this thing can reach 100 yards, no problem. Yeah. All right, guys. I thought I made this boring video. All right, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.